Good evening. This is a show I'm not looking forward to doing, I must admit. I've been trying to put it off for weeks and weeks. Well, not weeks and weeks, days and days. But good news is Tobi's stuck in traffic, so we might be able to get away with him not being on here. But listen, before we go into that, I also do that little clip with BetVictor, and we was talking about Song. Didn't get nominated for the Player of the Year this season. Maybe because he dives and cheats, and maybe that's why he didn't get it. But this is what the clip was saying on BetVictor. See what they've got to say, and then maybe have a little thought about it afterwards. But for me, even though I don't like him, I think he should have been nominated.
Look, I'm going to look at this from a little bit more of a serious angle, yeah. I genuinely believe, for the same reason Salah probably didn't get Player of the Year, I think players from the Asian continent and the African continent are sometimes just less regarded in the English media. I know Heung-min Son is someone that is, you know, everyone tries to force you to like him. Oh, Sonny, this, that, and the other. And that kind of grinds my gears a lot. Yeah, like, I hate that part of it. Like, I don't want to like him. Stop trying to force me to like someone. But at the same time, I do think they get, like, Conor Gallagher, you know, he's English. He's come through, you know, here. And therefore, he's going to get a little bit more highly rated in the media. And those kind of things help sway opinions and that. And Son will just go under the radar. Also, from a footballing perspective, I think Spurs didn't have the best of start. You had a manager that was getting sacked. Conte come in. There was a period of time where Conte just looked like he wants to get out there as soon as he had arrived. A bit like Lukaku at Chelsea. So all those kind of things combined probably haven't helped him. But I agree he should be nominated at the very, very least.
Welcome, people. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Lee Judges TV. If you haven't done so already, head over to BetVictor and subscribe and look at their content. If you haven't done so already, please smash a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. We've had a little bit of last-minute changes and we've had some people that are stuck in traffic and it's all a bit of a nightmare. We had to push the show back and at one stage I thought we might have to cancel. Unfortunately, Tobes is stuck in traffic, or fortunately, depending on what way you look at it. And unfortunately, Dan United is in hospital, bless him. He is okay. I wish him a speedy recovery and hopefully he'll be back on the channel soon. But it's going to be the four of us until Tobes joins us. I've got little Dan with us and I've got Dan Lawless with us, so we're going to talk Wolves and West Ham first of all. Listen, got Lee Judges with me as well. Judges, it's always funny, isn't it, doing a show like this until what happens to us at the end of the season. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about Wolves because they've had a bit of a strange season as well. I know Dan isn't with us for long, so I want to try and get his thoughts before he has to shoot off. And then we'll come back to talk about the North London clubs and, of course, West Ham. And a little bit about Man United afterwards as well. So, Lil Dan, talk to me, man. When we started doing this show, you was right in the race for the top four in Europe. And then you just kind of drifted off towards the end. And I thought, you know what, let's just stick with Wolves because it could be that they have a great end, but it just never really got going for you. I don't know what went wrong, and I'd love to get your opinions of it. Rich was on here saying, to be fair to him, I don't think we've ever been in the top four race, and I think we might miss out on Europe. He was quite honest about it, but where do you think it went wrong, man? Because you ended up getting in the top half just about, bro. So what happened, mate?
Just a massive collapse, Dan. I think it's like you just said, it's unfortunate that Tobes hasn't come tonight, but you've got Right Said Fred with you tonight, Dan, with us three bundies. So, I honestly, lads, the way that Wolves collapsed at the end of this season, I've got to try and find humour in my life at the moment because Wolves massively depressed me the last few months. Back in February, before we had the first fixture at Molineux between Wolves and Arsenal, we were bang right in the top four race, in my opinion. We had sort of a bit of momentum going into the sort of February, but the defeat at home to Arsenal, we lost away to West Ham on the Sunday. And then we got beat by Arsenal on the Thursday. It was just three massive defeats that I think just knocked all momentum and any sort of unfounded belief with Wolves getting the top four. I just wanted to see Wolves back in Europe. When we had sort of the Europa League tour the season before last, I'd have bit your hand off for even the Conference League in like sort of February, March. So the fact that we've ended up 10th is massively frustrating, yeah.
I've got to be honest, Lil Dan, like, I feel like I kind of jinxed it. with Rich because I said, "Do you know what? Out of everyone on this panel, like this was back a few months ago, I said, you're the ones that can probably hold your head up high because if you come eighth, that's still a good season. But to finish now behind Leicester and Brighton, you must be disappointed with that. Do you feel like Bruno is to blame? Do you feel like the players didn't turn up? Do you feel like it's just one of those seasons? Like who do you put the kind of blame down to, or is there no blame? Is it just the way football goes?"
I think I'm going to take one from your fan base's book here. I think you got to lay the blame straightly at the owners in areas where we needed to invest and take another step towards trying to break into that sort of top six. They bottled it. They let Adama Traore go out on loan in January. One of the most ridiculous transfers if you look at it on paper. Loan buy to loan to buy with an option. Absolutely ridiculous. They didn't replace Adama. They brought in a £3.5 million winger from a mid-table Portuguese side who's done well. But if you were really going to have any go at it, you should have been investing again. And it's just Bruno has been questioned the last sort of month or so with his team lineups and his tactics, especially his in-game substitutions. But I don't think the guy ever had a chance from the start of the season. Back in the last summer transfer window, he told the owners, I want a minimum of sort of 4 players. And he got one, which was Wang Yi-chan, who was, sorry if there's any South Korean watchers tonight, but he's an absolute bag of wank.
Wow, I'm surprised.
I didn't think he was too bad, but saying that, listen.
He started well. He scored 4 goals in about sort of 3 games. But apart from those 4 goals, I mean, one was a tapping that he nearly missed. He's been terrible, guys, honestly. His first touch is... it should be taken to like trading standards because he's a fraud of a footballer. His first touch is that bad. His second touch is a header.
Wow, that's jeez. I'm surprised.
I mean, I'm surprised because, but listen, I don't watch Wolves every week, and you know what? It's sometimes when you watch Match of the Day and you think, oh, he scored again, this lad. You think he must be a good player, but it's interesting. You watch Wolves home and away, or wherever you go, little Dan. So I'm going to take that with you. But judges, what do you make of Wolves? Because Wolves were really up there, and little Dan makes a great point about Arsenal maybe causing some problems with their momentum home and away. We had them home and away, beat them both in kind of a style that, let's be honest, we're not used to. Last minute goals to make it at home 2-1, and obviously holding on to that 1-0 win. We went down to 10 men and Martinelli got sent off. And since then, Wolves, to be fair, have looked a little bit of a different outfit, but they're still in the top half. Like, what do you make of their season, Lee?
Yeah, I think if you're the Wolves fan, you'd be disappointed because on one hand, you'd be saying, oh, it's brilliant that they were challenging for top 4, and they were at one stage. They were definitely in with a shout. If I'll be honest, I don't think they was going to quite do it. But to be in with a shout of it, you'd be quite pleased. But they fell away at the end, and I think whether it be Wolves, Arsenal, or West Ham, we all got that feeling, haven't we? Like what could have been and whatever. If I'll be honest, I think the 2 games with Arsenal probably killed them. If I'll be honest, the away game. I was impressed with Wolves, but we defended really, really well that day. And then in the second game, they really come at it, got the lead, and then to lose it like they did. By the way, it's the only time I think Arsenal have come back from a goal behind, so maybe there was signs there for Wolves. But I still think that at the end of it, Wolves, it's like we can't really turn around and say, how can I say it? It's like Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, yeah, we give it a good go at top 4, so we're happy." And I'm not. I'm disappointed. So I can get why Wolves can be in that feeling as well. Like I'm going to say it again. Did they really invest in January? Well, I think that we can all say that. I think that if I was to put a finger on all of our seasons this season, apart from Spurs, the one team that did invest and strengthen in January, we can all look back at January and go, I think that was a key thing. Players get tired, players get jaded. And I think towards the end of the season, I don't think perhaps we as fans appreciate how tough it gets towards the end. I'm not sure. But I listen, Wolves are I'm not having a go at them in any way, shape or form when I say this. They're not in no relegation battle this season. It's been a comfortable season for them. I think that they can look at a lot of positives from it. But I think that if, say, for instance, it's a weird thing, and if they'd have had the end of the season at the beginning and then won, and then the end of the season, everybody would be very, very pleased with it. But when you've had a good start to the season and then petered out, you have that sense of disappointment. And I'm like that with us. So I'll imagine Wolves fans are exactly the same.
It's beyond that, though, Lee. 9 defeats in the last 14 games. It's relegation.
Yeah, it's
form.
relegation form, isn't it? I agree. It is a worry.
You mentioned how good a start we had to the season. Jose Sarr, I think he's in the sort of he ought to be in the Premier League team of the season because how well he's been. If you look at all the metrics for goalkeepers, if we hadn't had such a good defence in the opening sort of 2/3 of the season, we'd be banging a relegation battle, and I'm worried about the momentum going into next season now.
Yeah, that's a fair point, to be fair. That is a fair
Great
point. Lawless, they were with you for most of the season. It has to be said, man. West Ham and Wolves were looking like it was going to be a fight for who's going to get European place. Then it was all about European Conference League. And then Wolves just kind of drifted away. And it was Leicester who had the momentum going to now that they've got their players. You know, I said to you earlier, next season, if Leicester keep all their players fit, depending on who they lose, they've still got a great side. So proved that they had a great kind of end. But what was your thoughts of Wolves drop off? Because, you know, it was quite nice for you, I suppose, looking at it thinking, you know, like we haven't been great ourselves in games, but actually Wolves luckily have fallen away.
Yeah, there was literally a point, and it was that point when we were sort of, you know, deep into Europa League. We would do that thing, we'd play Europa League game, then we'd lose the Premier League game straight after. I was sort of looking over my shoulder and thinking, damn, like Wolves really just need a couple of wins. You know what I mean? And they're ahead of us, and it's might be hard to overcome that. So I was really worried. You know, I went to Wolves away earlier in the season, and they was really good, really tough. They beat us, and it was just, you know, a really difficult game. In fact, every time I've been to Wolves, you know, it's been a difficult game, tough team to play against. But like when I see them, the way they just dropped off like that, I'm thinking, and then I look at it and I think it can't just be because Traore's out. Because Traore's like, he just didn't seem to be that influential on the team. So it's just something in there to like Dad said, I didn't know they lost 9 in 14. That's horrendous. I know they was on a bad run, but I mean, I was grateful because, you know what I mean, for us, like if we would have finished like 8th or, you know, where Wolves has now, it would have been, you know, really disappointing. It would have been sickening to not get any type of European football after that. So, yeah, I was thankful for it because there was a point where I was thinking, damn, I can see them overtaking us.
Yeah, man, it was looking at one stage. Like, Lil Dan, because I know you got to go literally in a couple of minutes, but I just want to get your thoughts going into next season and what you might need to do in the transfer window. And I wanted to ask you about Neves, whether you think he's going to stay or go.
From all the sort of social media, the way he reacted on the last sort of 2 games, obviously we had Norwich at home, the second from last game of the season. It was a teary goodbye from what it looked like. I'm still surprised he's with us now, to be honest. I think after last season when we weren't in Europe, he should have went then. I don't know whether he's got some sort of gentleman's agreement where he gave us another season, hoping we might be able to break back in, but he should be playing Champions League or at least Europa League now. He is that much of a talent, Ruben Neves. It's just, my concern is I just don't want him to go to another English side because he's not just a top quality player. He's become an absolute hero of this club, joining us in the Championship to the legend that he is now.
Yeah, he really has been, man. What do you expect in the summer for you boys to try and get back up to the kind of European places?
I'm just concerned. I mentioned blaming the owners a few minutes ago. It's really all on them this summer. We've had a bit of a sort of UEFA sanction lingering over us the last sort of 2 seasons because I think we overspent getting into. Because we got into the Europa League the first season, we got promoted because of the 3-year FFP pattern or something. We was classed as overspending beyond our means. So we got something. I think it was like £7 million fine, and you're only allowed a certain number of players in your squad. It's been a bit balmy, but that's over now. So this summer, hopefully they'll put their hands back in the pocket. But I'm just concerned that we're turning into a sort of Southampton type club where the owners are happy for us just to stay up every season and just wheel players out, buy them cheap and sell them for big, like Jota, Neves, the like.
Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. I'm sorry you couldn't stay for longer. I'll blame Tobes when he does join us, mate, because it's his fault for being stuck in traffic. But I appreciate you jumping on, bro, and we'll see a lot more of you next season, my man. Thank you so much for coming on, Lil Dan.
Cheers,
Have a
Dan.
good summer, lads. Take care.
You too. Take care, mate.
That's
Take
right,
it
mate.
easy, buddy. Lawless, let's talk a little bit about West Ham, shall we? Listen, I want you to be honest with me, mate. Right? At the start of this season, if I would have given you 7th place in European semi-final, would you have taken it?
First of all, I'm glad Tobes ain't here for the West Ham section. But yeah, you know what? And this is what we said. It's similar to Arsenal. You know, a lot of the times I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans rationalise. You know, at the start of the season, no one predicted we'd be here, and you know we would have took that progression or whatever. But yeah, like if you would have said to me, look, we get to the semi-final and we'll finish 7th and all of that, I'd go, yeah, that's a good season because last season we were 6th. We got into the Europa League. I want consistency. That's been our biggest problem. We'll have one season good and then a few seasons down. We've never been able to have that good season, follow it up and finally finish, you know, in similar places. So that was huge for me. However, when you get to these key points and the manner that you throw them away, these opportunities, that is what is hard to take. How we went out of the semi-final to Frankfurt, hard to take. How we, you know, I can't say it any other way. I have to say bottled 6th place. That's hard to take. So I have to take my head off of whatever I wanted at the start of the season. Look at the opportunity was there in front of you, and you just threw it away. So I can't really get to be too happy looking at it. It's going to be disappointing for me. The context as a whole, yeah, like great for the club, great for progression, but I'm still going to be disappointed, you know. So yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, 100%. Judges, do you think West Ham replicated what we did a few seasons ago? They tried to put, like, where do they go with this? Do they go all out for Europa? Do they go to try and stay in the league? Like, it's reminding me of us a little bit in terms of when we were under Emery. We didn't quite know what one to go for. We ended up missing out on both.
I don't know. I think West Ham's made a couple of mistakes. I think the biggest mistake for me was not strengthening in January. They knew what they was going into. I actually did. I think I did say to. Well, I definitely said to Paul, my mate West Ham. Paul might have said it down as well. Like, you know, that if they don't sign a few players, I think if they signed a couple of players in January, I think that they would have really pushed for top 4. I thought that they was that good, West Ham. I really did. But they didn't, and you know, I scratched my head to see why they didn't do that. Like, you know, and then when you look at the Europa League this season, you know, like the two teams, like, oh, come on, mate. You know, I said to Paul, I said to you, you're beating him. I can't believe they didn't. They actually knocked out bigger and better teams before that, you know, before going into that game, and that would be the disappointing thing. I know the circumstances are sending off, but I just think that lots of things were wrong about what West Ham done. And I look at David Moyes and I think, well, you're an experienced coach, really, really good and all that. Like, I look back, I say, you know, that he played a strengthened side against Arsenal when there was no need for it. I'm not saying because it's Arsenal, you know what I mean? It didn't work out. They just needed to just keep everybody nice and fresh going into that game. Didn't do that. I felt that was a thing for them. I felt that when you look at the European games, and Dan's already said about it, they'd play on the Thursday, get a great result on the Thursday, lose on the Sunday. So why then go and put in a real strength side in the middle of those two games is unbelievable. I remember we went to Man United a few years before that, and we played a real weakened side. You know, it didn't matter. We lost anyway. But the fact that the matter was that we knew we had to put our eggs in all that one basket. And I just look at it, you know, and I feel for West Ham because I wanted them to win it. I say I wanted them to win it. If Rangers would have got knocked out, I probably would have wanted West Ham to do it. But I just think that it's just a missed opportunity for West Ham to get Champions League. I just it would be very nice to just sit down with David Moyes or someone like that and just say what was the thinking there, because you know it was very. I have to say I don't know how Dave feels about it. West Ham were as close as Arsenal to getting top 4. You know what I mean? And I feel really down about it that we didn't do it, like, you know. Yeah. And I think that West Ham had a massive opportunity to get there.
It was one of those. I mean, I think it was the away leg, wasn't it? It was the second leg we played you before, wasn't it? We played you, and then we had to play the second leg against Frankfurt. The funny thing is, in that Frankfurt game, I've been told to send it off. We were brilliant. We were on top. We were creating chances, causing them problems, all of that stuff. And then one ball over the top where we had a sort of like a high line at the time. They played one ball over the top. Creswell loses his head completely, absolutely just idiotic what he's done. And that's the second time in 2 rounds the geezer gets sent off. You know, I was sketchy about the first one because Dembele did dive at the time, but still you're starting getting into that wrestling and tugging when you're the last man. But this one, he's grabbing his shirt, he's pulling his arm back. You can't do that. You know you can't do that. And once he does that, the game changes. Like all of a sudden, we're chasing the game, we're on top. Now we're on the back foot. He never should have been in. He never should have started that game, and I wouldn't have started him for the rest of the season. So horrendous how he cost us that, and I think every other player will probably.
Didn't he get sent off against Lyon as well? Lawless?
Yeah, that's what the one I was talking about against Lyon.
Yeah, that one.
Similar situation.
Similar stuff. Sorry, I was getting confused.
Situation. He's lost his head. So you know that is what was hard to take. You know, if we would have given it our all, 11 on 11. And just come up short. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but you go, do you know what? We gave it all. But for 18 minutes for the game to just be killed off like that when we're chasing the game 2-1 down. You know, it's a gutting. You know, down to one player's poor, judgment there. So that one was tough to take. And then you think, okay, let's at least get back into Europa and have a go again next season. And I knew Man United weren't beating Palace. I knew it. And to go against Brighton, we never beat Brighton. I don't know why we can't beat these guys. The last time we beat them, I remember I was at that game. I think it was in the Championship. We smashed them like 6-0. And they took that personally, I think. And ever since then, we can't beat them. And to go 1-0 up and just throw it away like that, I was livid. 2 chances. And you rightly, we should have strengthened in January. We should have got the business done in August. How do we have one striker for the whole season who's had injury problems in the past? 32 years old. You know what I mean? So you see Antonio, he starts really brightly. He's banging in goals like crazy. All of a sudden, midway through the season, he fades out because he's just being played to death with West Ham, with Jamaica, in the league, in Europe, in the FA Cup, in the Carabao. Just constantly being played 90 minutes, not getting subbed off. And, that's a killer. And we got to be thankful Bowen was, as good as he has been, because that has kept us at least getting conference. And a lot of people, mock the conference, but, and look down on it. But I look at that final and Jose winning it and you think, do you know what? Like, yeah, look, I'd rather Europa, I'd rather Champions League, but listen, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. Once you get there, it's the early stages is all the bollocks. Once you get to the later stages, you're facing the big boys like Romas and that, and winning it. It's something.
Top six will be tough next season, Lawless. Like not saying West Ham aren't going to get it, but it's going to get tougher. So if you win that competition, that's your route into Europe, isn't it? But I tell you what, let's quickly get someone else's opinion in on this, man. Tobes, how are you, bro?
I'm great, man. Just knackered, absolutely knackered. But
you just got back.
Yeah, literally just got back. I unzipped my suitcase, got my equipment out, and then just jumped on the stream, man. I'm great, man. I'm great. It may normally I'm a bit more happier. I'm a bit more happier, but it's just because, as I said, my energy's just been sapped. But I'm fantastic, man. And just hearing Lawless cry about West Ham and how they got let down by one player in the Europa League and how they crumbled in the last couple of games of the season. It's beautiful to see, because when a team and a fan base took themselves up to be on a level that they're not at, and then when it comes to crunch time and it all comes tumbling down, it just makes it should make you have a better sort of self-awareness on the level that your club's at. The audacity to throw stones from glass houses, calling Spurs bottle jobs, etc., and yet in the crunch time, in our last 10 games in comparison to theirs, it's night and day. It's night and day, and I can give a damn.
You went and spent money. You spent money.
That's not my business. That's not my problem. That's not my problem. You talk with chest. You talk up your team. That's not my business. It's football. part and
Fine
parcel.
margins. Fine margins.
It's not fine margins because we comfortably finished above you. It's nothing to do with fine margins. We finished comfortably above you, and this is your first season in a long time. In fact, this is your first season ever where you've had to do what we've been doing for the last 10, 15 years, playing Europe and juggling a Premier League campaign. But yet it didn't stop you from criticizing us when we'd have a down season. So listen, you got to take it. You got to absolutely take it, because when it's Spurs that have a down season, despite having to juggle everything you've juggled, you're up in arms. You and your fan base. You got a lot to say. So I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear any excuses.
Listen, we're taking it, yeah, but listen, don't come out and act like Spurs are the big I am here, because listen, you got lucky getting Conte. Yeah, Conte turned you down the first time. Yeah, he turned you down the first time. Then he realized, well, no one else is really coming in for me.
That's persistence, mate. That's not luck. That's persistence.
I need a job. I might as well. Spurs are the only one that are available. Cool, let me go to Spurs. You got lucky. If you still had Nuno, we would be having a very different conversation right now.
Because he wasn't good enough for Spurs. But I said that from day one, though. But it's not luck. We tried for him in the summer. We didn't get our man. Then we tried for him again. It's persistence. It's not luck.
Yeah, I think because he didn't have nowhere else to go, did he? He thought, other clubs are going to come to me.
You're right. You're right. It's called being opportunistic. Your club should take a leaf out of our take a page out of our book and do that when it comes to your squad, because you had an opportunity to strengthen in January. You had an opportunity to strengthen in the summer. You didn't do it. And then now come into the season, you're crying about no striker. You're crying about the lack of depth in the midfield, etc., etc. I ain't going to hear all of it. I ain't going to hear any of it.
I've been saying that from day one.
I think at the end of the day, that is where it all comes down to. I think that, listen, Spurs, Arsenal, and Man United, and us. We're not all great sides, but far from it. But when it comes to January, you have to say that Tottenham reacted, and they did. If you look at all the other teams, you can bring Man United into that. You can bring us into it. You can bring in West Ham and all that. None of us strengthened. For the life of me, I don't know why. Tottenham strengthened with a couple of signings, made them a better player. Listen, they were an embarrassment in midfield. You know what I mean? Like Tottenham fans earlier on in the season were trying to say how good Skip was. They ain't saying nothing about Skip now because they've got a decent midfielder coming in.
No, Skip is a decent player, but there's not been much talk on Skip because he's been injured.
But he wouldn't have took you to the top four, Tobi. Like, do you know what I mean?
Not? Why not? Why not?
Because he's not good. Because he's not good enough. That's not a fair statement. I don't think that's a fair statement. What they've done. Listen, I'm telling you, if you think Skip's a good player, like, you know what I mean?
I think he's. I think he's a decent player.
Let's hope he's playing in midfield for you next season. Then, like, you know what I mean? Because
he will be playing in midfield for us next season, and we want him back because Skip acquitted him. Skip was probably the most consistent midfielder we had up until Benton Court came in. So
but what I'm saying is that he's come in and proved it, and I think that's where the key was in January. They Tottenham improved their side with the two signings. Very, very impressed with the ginger fella on the wing. Got to say that at Arsenal, he was really good. Yeah. That's him, like, you know what I mean. But Bentenko, he's a good player as well, and I think that's the distance, like, you know what I mean. So
you know why I think we both didn't strengthen Lee, and I think because Arteta and Moyes seem to have a similar philosophy on this and if we can't get our targets, we'll wait.
I'll tell you what, I rattled a few Spurs fans out. They're all going on about how good Skippy is you know what I mean? Like, he ain't no good. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you what, he's no Steven Gerrard, is he? Like, you know what I mean?
He's not a bad player. He's not a bad player at all, and he's got gears to go.
He wouldn't get. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want him at Arsenal. Thank God. Like, and we ain't got a great midfield.
You got. That's fine. You've just re-signed El Neni. It don't really matter what you want.
Well, he's a good squad player. I suppose he's a good squad player, El Neni, as a squad player. But you're putting Skip in your side. I hope and pray that he's playing on a regular basis at Tottenham Hotspur next season.
Skip is going to be in Lee. Skip is going to be in.
Saying in the chat, he's a great player. What you know what I mean? He's a great player.
listen, some people rate Skip higher than others, yeah. But the point that most Spurs fans will make is Skip is not as bad as you make him out to be. Skip isn't even a bad player. He's for someone who's had his first top flight season as a regular up until his injury in the Spurs side. He acquitted himself relatively well relative to his level as a player. He's a decent player, and he's going to get better season in, season out for Spurs, and he's going to get game time next season. That's all. That's all.
Are you
There's
sure he's
nothing
not going to be
more
one of
to
these
it.
players you hype up as the next big thing, like Harry Winks or something? Can he just fade
But who
out?
is hyping up Skip as the next big thing though? No one's asked for him to be in the English squad. No one said he's the best midfielder in our team. No one's saying
But the
any
way
of
your
these things.
fans are piping up, getting all defensive over flipping Skip, like,
Yeah,
come on.
because he called him. Lee said he's not good. Lee said he's better yet. Sorry, Lee basically called him shit. He's not shit.
No, I turned around and said you've improved on him with Benson.
Yeah, we have improved on him, but it doesn't mean that he was bad.
That's what I was saying. Like, you know what I mean?
I thought it was a fair statement from judges. I gotta say, like I've been saying to Tobes that I think Skip's all right, but like Bentancur's better, and so's
that's
like
what I'm
Højbjerg
saying.
is.
And if
I agree.
If Lee said what you just said, Dan, there wouldn't be no argument. There'd be no argument. But
Maybe Skip comes in for maybe it will be Bentancur and Skip next season then instead of Højbjerg.
Maybe. I'm just saying it's just interesting. Certain people have certain profile midfielders.
Yeah, mate, you know, you may be right. You may be right because the name Skip don't really go. It's not a Bentancur sounds a lot better, doesn't it? Like, it does. Come on. Yeah, it's got more flavour to it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
it really has, man. It really has. Before we move away from West Ham, I just want to get like Lawless's points on where they go next, because obviously Declan Rice, Jared Bowen, they're two players that people will probably want in the summer and next summer. I probably think you're safe for one more season, Lawless, but what do you need to do to keep them happy, man? Because it's going to be hard for you next season. Top 6 is going to be difficult. Top 4 is going to be really difficult. So what do you need to do, man?
We need to spend, man. We need to strengthen the team. We need to show ambition and show the players ambition. I'm hearing all the right movements. Apparently, we're wrapping up the deal for this centre back. Egward is ball playing left sided centre back. Looks like an improvement on what we have. Him and Dawson. We needed a centre back for ages. Then obviously Lingard. They're negotiating with Lingard, trying to get Areola wrapped up. We don't do business early. We literally take a few months off, then we go, I guess we better make some signings. So then we leave it right until the end. So it's a positive sign. So if the players, I think, see that, yeah, we're serious now, they're going to go, right, okay, we're going to show some ambition. This is a project that maybe we want to stay and see where it goes for one more season, see where we end up. Because if we're getting these positions locked down early, then we can focus on the real serious positions, spend more time on that, which is striker. We can get that done. We've got a good core of our squad. Look what this team achieved with having such a thin side, right? Go into the semi-finals of the Europa League, being in a top 4 race for the majority of the season. Okay, we narrowly missed out, but we was in it for the majority of the season up until the top 6 race. Such a thin squad, balancing those. Imagine if we add real quality to the side. Imagine if we improve and you have Antonio. I don't know why. I'm just looking at Tobe's face. When I see those faces he's making when I'm saying...
Yeah, because you keep saying you narrowly missed out. You didn't narrowly missed out. You got gazumped.
We narrowly missed out on sixth.
No, you just said we top 4 race that we narrowly missed out on. And that's why my face was like, you're
misconstruing my words. I said we was.
That's what you said. That's what you said.
We was in the top 4 race for the majority of the season. Yeah. Then Europa, which we narrowly missed out on. So it's Europa we narrowly missed out. He's so
make
ready.
It clear. Make it
so
clear.
ready to come for
make
me.
It clear.
But imagine now, Antonio's on the bench. We've got a big boy striker up front. We've got depth in centre back. We've got a new left back, so we ain't gonna have no Creswell antics and craziness. We've got another, maybe even an upgraded defensive midfielder to go next to Rice. And we've got Lingard, who was killing it for us before, bagging in goals, causing defensives, all sorts of terrors, and then having a few other key areas looking at that. Imagine that. So what we've achieved now, like this season, with what we have, strengthening the squad and improving on it, who knows? Maybe we can, because then we can go into this Conference League, not do it completely Spurs' way and just oh, like we think their academy is completely shit anyway, and they thought they could just play the academy in them stages, and they got found out. But we've got a good academy.
No,
We've got quality players.
that wasn't what we did. That wasn't what we
You
did.
played
So I don't know why
young
you're lying.
players mixed in with some bench players.
No,
and
we
then you
played the majority of bench players who we've widely acknowledged aren't good enough. By youngsters playing in Europa, you mean Dane Scarlett and Skip. Who else? Who else played?
But what the point is, we've got better players that, like I'm saying, we make these signings. We've got academy players that are good, actually good, that we can throw in there. And we're going to have better squad players that we can throw in there, and then a couple of the first starters. So in them early rounds, we can do that, go hard in the league with our strongest 11, get to later stages, go and win this conference thing, go hard in the league. Happy hammers, last laugh on Tobes. Come on, that's what I'm saying. Positive Dan today. The negativity's gone. I'm getting the positivity out, but it can happen. I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? So,
I think the highest you can expect next season is probably, it might be worth you going for that competition, Lawless. That's what I'm thinking. Because the highest you can realistically expect of people drop in and stuff, in my opinion, is similarly to where you were this season. So I would just go all out for that competition, because look at the crap that's in it, mate. Look at the crap that's been in it. Like, let's be honest, the first stages are a joke. Like, then you got, like, you know, Spurs, I know, like, they lost to that Moira, whatever the hell their name was, but like Tobe said, they just were playing kids and second bench players. I would just go all out for that.
Best team out of the three of us last season, though, Dan. They didn't strengthen, did they? They come above us last season. They come above Tottenham last season. So they were the best team. They were better than Arsenal and Spurs last season. West Ham.
Last season. Sorry,
Sorry, didn't strengthen. I think that was the problem. I think West Ham.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They could be well up there, like, you know.
That window was key, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do think that, you know what I mean. They built on a really good side last season. They was up there. They better than Arsenal, better than Spurs, and they didn't for the. And we've also, I think, which is a key, which you've already said, Dan, is that in that team they had Jesse Lingard, and he got took out of the team. They didn't really replace him, and so that's why Arsenal and Spurs have gone above them this season, because I think that, you know, I do think it is definitely their transfer window, the transfer business at West Ham this season. I'm not having a go at West Ham, and I just can't understand it. It was just all wrong. Right. It was all wrong. You know, more games. Yeah, and they didn't strengthen it. In fact, they got
August
weaker,
and January, both the winners, summer and winter.
It's a strange situation.
Most of us would agree with you, Lee. I just saying what you said, Dan. Something I would take Lingard back to the comment, but I know you're alluding. I don't expect us to get top 4 next season at all. Before anyone says I'm deluded, because I think that's definitely going to be Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, Spurs. You know, obviously, if they back Conte with the money they said, they've probably got it. But I know. So you're alluding that you think 6th would be a step too far of us. 5th and 6th is locked up. I don't think that you should look at Arsenal as a given. And I know you're looking at Newcastle now as a contender. We still don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, they've just finished mid-table, had a very good end to the season. But they can spend money. Can they spend it right? Villa are obviously going to spend money, but they've been spending money for a lot of seasons now. Can they spend it right? Obviously, Man United, Ten Hag in. We still don't know. Like I've said with Man United, I don't know what they're going to be like next season. They could massively improve and be brilliant and maybe mount a top 4 challenge, or they could be a disaster. Like, it's a big job Ten Hag has got.
But I think, really. Lawless, and I agree with everything you're saying there, but I would say now, what's easier, West Ham to win that competition or to get into the top 6? I'd say win that competition. I would. So I think it would be easier.
The thing is with cup games, though, it's not like we can, with the league, we can afford to lose a couple of games in a row and then get momentum back. If we just completely abandon the league, like you've seen, like we could just randomly lose a game on the day we're not good enough. Or
I don't think you'll completely abandon it though, because the games don't really get started until February, March anyway in that competition. So my point is, I feel like if you was to say to me now, what do you think? Because listen, you'll go for the league, 100%. You will. You'll go for both, and you should. But what I'm getting at is, I think it would be easier for you to take that more seriously around February, March time. See where you are in the league. If it's like, do you know what, we're like 9 points off top 4, we're about 6 off a top 6. This is going to be difficult for us now. We're relying on a load of other teams to drop points. I just go all out for that competition. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
We are at the time,
yeah, 100%, man. Right, let's talk about Arsenal and Spurs, man. I don't really want to do this, but we're gonna have to. I want to bring up a super chat if I can first, and I want to get the boys' thoughts on it. Everybody, big up Brandon. Thanks for the super chat, bro. Emery's finished 5th, 1 point behind top 4. And apparently it was a disgrace. 3 years later, Arteta finishes 5th, 2 points behind 4th, and it's a celebration. It tells you all you need to know about our fan base. It's a shambles. Judges, like, let's be honest, I didn't see people going absolutely mental, but I did see people saying this was a good season for Arsenal, and people were arguing with me on some of my fan cams and some of my podcasts, saying that I was out of order for saying that this was a failed season. Can you see any of this as a success? Because I just can't, mate. I'm sorry.
No, it's not a success. I don't think you should be celebrating 5th place. And if Arsenal fans that are is ridiculous. I look at it and say, look, listen, keep comparing Emery to Arteta has got to stop, because at the end of the day, let's get this right. The board wanted Arteta. They wanted Arteta before Emery. Emery was a dead man walking, whatever happened. And the fact is, that Arteta is going to get more chances than Emery, and that's what's happened. I don't think he'll get too many more chances. I think what you were saying there about what West Ham have got to do. Arsenal in the same position, I think, going into it next season now, unless there's a madness in the summer, that we've got to concentrate on the Europa League, because I don't think we'll be challenging top 4 next season by no stretch of it. We've challenged top 4 this season with a thin 19 players. Half of some of them not even fit. You know what I mean? Like, how the hell are we going to go into next season trying to compete with top 4 plus Europe? Is beyond me. Unless we sign some real players, I don't think that we will. And I think that at the end of the day, I've got real doubts on what's going to happen at Arsenal now, because unless there is a madness in there, I don't see it. Tottenham, I think Tottenham will probably go 4, 5, 6 players. I think that they'll probably sign if they're going to back Conte. That's what he's going to want. That's going to take them above the parapet for what we're going to go for. You know what I mean? Because realistically, Tottenham haven't got I don't know, Tobi know it more. I don't think that they had more than 19 players in their squad. But ultimately, they had probably more in their squad, and they had no European football as well. People forget about that as well. Like, they didn't have no European football after Christmas, but they kept their squad going as well. For me now, it is a big problem with that. Listen, with Mikel Arteta now, and I do think this is that it's been proven. I don't think he's a bad manager. I don't think he's a great manager. He's not in the class of the guys above him. But ultimately, he's had a front that just has not been scoring goals. It'd be interesting if say turn it around and say like Song and Kane were playing for Arsenal, where it actually would have gone for. I think that probably like Arsenal would have maybe got into the top 4 easily. The thing is that I even hear talk now and rumours. I don't know if anybody's heard this now, that Vlahovic wasn't even like on the cards. It was never going to happen. You know what I mean? So in fact, someone told me that today. Which is a worry, because I think if we'd have got Vlahovic in the transfer window, I think that would have made us a much better and stronger side. All of a sudden now Eddie's signing another, a contract of 5 seasons. He's not in the class of the guys. If you have a look at Liverpool, Manchester City, Tottenham, and Chelsea to a certain degree, Chelsea maybe not as much, but they've all got top players up front. They've all got top players that can score goals, win you a game when you're not playing well. Like, you know, and the fact of the matter is, I've seen Spurs on a few occasions not playing well, but Harry Kane or Son gets them out of trouble. We haven't got that in our armory. We haven't got it in our armory, and that's one of the things that we haven't got. And I don't care what any team says. Every team don't play well every week, Dan. Every team doesn't play well every week. You know, Liverpool struggling against certain teams. You know, I tell you what, Liverpool struggling against Spurs the other week. I thought Spurs were outstanding that night and blunt. But Diaz come up, always looked a little bit dangerous. Arsenal have not quite got that type of player at this moment in the team. They have got to get it in the summer. If they don't, we're going to be where we are now.
Tobes, you've been shaking your head the whole way through.
Yeah. There's a couple of things being said that I don't agree with as well, because Arsenal fans all of a sudden they want to come with this Kane and Son narrative. But hang on a minute, wasn't Harry Kane the same Kane that they were cussing out because he didn't get his move to Man City? 1 goal in 14, 15 odd appearances, was absent for the first half of the campaign.
Toby, come on. You're telling me
No.
Harry Kane started the season and finished it? Son who they called Streaky, started the season and finished it. Son who they called Streaky, etc. I heard some of your fans tell me that Bukayo Saka was better than Son. And this point on, if Arsenal had Harry Kane and Son, if we signed Vlahovic, blah, blah, blah. We had Kane and Son last season. We had them firing across all cylinders. Harry Kane was the top scorer, top assister. Son hit 17 Premier League goals and got 10 Premier League assists. Where did we finish? We finished 7th. Yeah. Kane and Son have been doing their thing for years and years. They did their thing for 2 years. Skip and Harry Winks in midfield. That's why.
They did their thing for 2 years. They did their thing for 2 years under Mourinho, and we didn't go anywhere. So I don't want to hear this talk about if Arsenal signed Vlahovic, if Arsenal had a Harry Kane or Son. I don't want to hear any excuses. Yeah, just face the facts. Your club, you bottled it. Yeah, the players that you don't gas up, they're not as good as you say they are. Your team is not as good as you say it is, and your manager isn't as good. Maybe not you guys, but your manager isn't as good as some of your fans say they are. And when it came to crunch time, you guys didn't deliver. It's all good and well saying, Spurs signed these 2 players in January. Yeah, we did sign these 2 players in January. But if you look at our team now from top to bottom, it is still not good. Me and Dan Potts have spoken about this a multitude of times. And when you go through the team, man on man, even with these players we signed, there isn't much between Spurs and Arsenal.
Yeah, no, there isn't. I agree with that, Toby. But if you've got a goal scorer in there, it does cover up 1,000 sins. I've played in teams when we've been dominated. And all of a sudden, we go in 2-0 up, and you think, oh, Christ, how are we 2-0 up? Well, because he scored 2 goals. And that is football. You've got to have good goal scorers, and that is
had one no lead, didn't you? And I'll tell you,
you got rid of him to replace him. And I just want to say this as well, Lee. This whole narrative, you're right. Having players like Harry Kane and Son means that even in games where we're not at our maximum, they can just raise the level and win us this game. But I'm struggling to name even 5 games this season where Spurs have played poorly and we've won. Yeah, I think
Burnley,
one of them is
I'll tell you that Burnley.
Burnley, we should have hammered them if not for Nick Pope. What are you talking about? We should have hammered them. We lost.
If you're saying Tottenham played well that day,
I didn't say
that day. What about Brighton? They played well against Brighton.
I didn't say Spurs played well, Lee. I said that I said I'm struggling to think of games where Spurs haven't played well enough to win and we've won, because we no longer have a side, even with Harry Kane and Son, that can carry as many deficiencies as we have. If I'm thinking of games,
you go back to the Liverpool game. You allowed Liverpool, which is your tactic, to dominate the game and hit them on the break. If you didn't have had Kane and Son that day, and you had Dele Alli up front and all that, you wouldn't have won that game. The reason that you won that game is because you had Manchester City game. Manchester City totally dominated, and Harry Kane scored two goals, 2 very good goals.
No, Lee, the reason we won that game is because defensively we didn't give Liverpool a sniff. The only way they could score was a deflection.
Lawless, you got any popcorn, mate?
Yes,
That's good letting that happen if you don't score.
Of course,
look how dangerous Son was in that game.
Of course, you need goal scorers, but when you say stuff like, Spurs have Kane and Son, and it means that I've watched them a couple of times. They've not played when they want. It sets a dangerous precedent for me because it implies that for a lot of these games, we don't deserve to win them, but just Kane and Son just pop up and we score. That's not true.
I never said that.
We may not be playing great football.
Actually, this is where Tottenham fans get all that. I actually said it happens with Man City and Liverpool as well. They're struggling a bit, and I just said Diaz comes up and scores. It's got not, I wouldn't take it like, this is the trouble with Spurs fans, all defensive and all that. Like, no need to be like, you know what I mean? It's good teams. Good teams have strikers that get them out of trouble. That is why they're good teams.
Fair.
You know
Let
what I
me
mean?
come in. Let me come in on this.
When you're not playing well, which is I'm telling you that has happened quite a lot of times for Arsenal in the past. When I can tell you that now, like when we weren't playing well, and Thierry Henry would bang up and score a couple of goals, and you didn't care. Don't matter if you're not playing well. You got that goal, but then it gets you out.
Then I can look at.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But then I
don't take it as a criticism. It's not a criticism. I think some of
right.
these Spurs fans look at it with Kane and Song as a criticism. It's not. Still got good players. Still got to defend well. But ultimately, those players are the ones that wins your games. Why do they get paid the most money? That is why.
They're match winners.
Well, let me tell you where I'm at with this, because me and Lee have disagreed with this for most of the season, or most of the latter part of the season. I had Tom and Harry on here as well saying that it's Kane and Son, it's Kane and Son. The reason I've disagreed the fact that it's Kane and Son is because they've had Kane and Son for about 6 years. So when I look at the reason they've got top four, it's because of Antonio Conte. I'm sorry, it is. He's an elite manager. He's come in. He's bought the two players that were needed in January, and they're the reason. Nuno had Kane and Son. Jose had Kane and Son. They didn't get him in the top four. So when I look at what Conte has done, it is nothing short of what he does all the time. He's a brilliant, brilliant manager, and he will be a threat next season if he's backed. If Daniel Levy, and I'm sorry, Tobes, I know we've mentioned Levy on this podcast before. As much as he's been great, if this guy does not back Antonio Conte, I do not understand where Tottenham need to go, because they've tried everything else. If they don't back this guy now, they're idiots. He's an idiot, because they could be a real threat next season. Not for the title, but they could be really hard to beat. I've tipped them already to come third next season for the pure fact that he's already got his front line. He's got a good player at the back in Romero that he just needs to add a few players around. He's got Bentancur in the middle, who's definitely good enough to be a playmaking midfielder. And if he brings in another head in that position, and also a backup goalkeeper for if Lloris gets injured, he might want to look at the potentially bringing in somebody else if Kane gets a knock. They could be a real threat and really, really difficult. And it would not surprise me if they end their trophy drought under this guy. He's the best thing that could have happened to Tottenham in decades, in my opinion. He's an elite manager. He is in the top 3 managers in the world, in my opinion. He's up there with Klopp and Pep. So how Tottenham Hotspur have got hold of him is an absolute madness. They need to keep him. It's no point chaining Harry Kane to a radiator. They need to be chaining Conte to the radiator, because this guy can get you places. He really can. And that's why I've disagreed for the most part of the season with what Lee, Tom and Harry were saying. Oh, they're only there because of Kane and Son. I've seen Kane and Son in this team for a long, long time. I haven't seen Tottenham looking like they've been playing since 2022. They've scored the most goals. They've got the most stats for running off the ball. They've got definitely a mentality which is installed by Conte. He's a motivator. He's got them playing.
Clean sheets as well in the final stretch. 5 goals conceded in our last 11 matches.
Bruv.
For defensive Sessegnon. With Sessegnon, with Dyer, with Davies, with Chicken Royale.
I said this earlier in the chat that I'm on with Lee and a few other lads. I said, how has he got Chicken Royale, Doherty, Sessegnon, Reguilon, Davis, Tanganga, the list goes on, Sanchez, Dyer, all conceding less goals than Arsenal's side when we've spent millions and millions on players?
They play a defensive game. They play a defensive game and it seems on the break. That's
precisely.
Yeah.
Because the manager. Manager then. So that's what I'm saying. The manager.
No, look, you ain't going to get an argument out of me with Conte. He's top class, and I think that. Yeah. Well, never said
say
that he's not
defensive as well. More transition.
But what we're saying now that Jose Mourinho is not good. He's won it.
No. But what we're saying,
he's won a trophy at every club he's been to. Jose Mourinho has won a trophy at every single club he's been to.
Why are we talking about Jose Mourinho?
Except Spurs.
Did I forget to mention that? Why
are we talking about Jose Mourinho?
Because he's a class manager. He's a winner.
Not right now. No, he's got world-class legacy. He's going to go down as one of the. He's probably going to go down alongside Pep as probably the greatest manager of his generation. But there's no way on earth you can tell me with a straight face that Jose Mourinho is currently a world-class manager. I'm not having it. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense.
Lee, can I ask a question, Lee and Dan, right? Because you're talking about goal scorers and not having goal scorers. You look at Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, first half of the season, but they were all firing. You had the goal scorers there; they were banging in goals. Look at Saka's, ended with quite a lot of goals and assists. If you look at the second half of the season into 2022, those players, their goals start to dry up completely. So you had the players there capable of scoring the goals, but for some reason they were no longer scoring the goals.
The trouble with Arsenal, Dan, is and I'll say this, they are very, very good players, but they're 21 years and younger. You know what I mean? You can't expect to lead a line in the Premier League with inexperience like that. It's always going to come up and catch you, and you need that little bit of experience. And I think that, he took the gamble that with Lacazette as well. And it's just, it didn't work. And that is the problem for us. I think in the next couple of years, you'll see how good Martinelli is, and Saka is a very, very good player, but they're not goal scorers. They're a different breed. A goal scorer is a different breed of player. They don't come around very often. Real top quality goal scorers. They're not about, as much as what everybody thinks they are. And I think that's the inexperience of our front line has got there. You look at Harry Kane, you look at even Bruyne, they're in their prime. They're in their prime. Absolutely in their prime at the moment, and as someone said here, we're on a youth project, we've got to get used to that. To a certain degree we have, but ultimately, you've in certain areas I think you can have younger players in the what, but you need your go-to guy shouldn't be under 21 or 22, in my opinion.
Wenger used to try and bring young players in all the time, but he didn't go, right, we're going to make the majority of the team under 24. This is it. He would bring in a few key players and go, right, you get an opportunity, play with these great experienced players or these good players, learn off them. But Arteta seemed to just go and
I think he had a spell where he tried it. He had a spell where he tried it. It didn't really work. I remember when he brought it up.
But it was different, Tobes, because but they'd all learn off of other players. These kids have learning off of people like Bellerin, Xhaka, Lacazette, El Nini. It ain't working. So,
fair.
Fuad made a great point on Matisse channel the other day with me and Lawless. He basically said, look, I'm not so sure that these kids are as hyped up as you make out. They're not scoring as many goals as people were saying. Martinelli's got 1 in 17. Smith Rowe's disappeared. Saka's the only one really doing it. And I thought, fair play. But, one I thought was a little bit harsh because they're kids. And we've gone down this route.
Yeah.
We're a possession-based side.
Come to the territory when your fan base gas them up to be the best thing since sliced bread. Come to the territory, unfortunately.
And they're a possession-based side. We want possession, so they're looking to do things like that. I blame Arteta a little bit for that. If I'll be honest, it's all sometimes you got to look to kill teams off and score a lot more goals. That's why if you have a look at when we won the FA Cup, Aubameyang was scoring goals because it was like counter-attacking football on the break. You know what I mean? Like when we've sort of gone to this possession-based football. That ain't his strength, is it, Aubameyang? Well, in fact, actually, it's his weakness.
Right. 2 things I want to get to before we do wrap up. Eddie Nketiah is apparently signing a new 5-year contract on £100,000 a week. I wanted to get everyone's thoughts on this, if I'm honest. Let's start with Lawless on this one, man. You're shaking your head. Go on, man. What do you think of El Neni and Nketiah being a part of this Arsenal side? For me, Lawless, before you answer that, if we don't sign people on top of this and we're just happy with those two, this has been a disgrace. But I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case and they're just going to be squad players. So what's your thoughts, mate?
Mate, firstly, I'm so grateful to Arteta for signing up Nketiah just to make sure that we don't do it. I really was not fancying us signing, Nketiah and that being our striker now. But it's madness, to say it's so weird, Arteta to go from Like, this Enrique is not part of the plans. He can't get a look in. It's all of a sudden, you're giving him 100 grand a week on this big contract. Like El Neni, like at the same time, like these are players that you look at and go, right, these should be moved on, and you need to get Lacazette gone and sign 2 strikers that are decent. One that's like, this striker is ready to go, and the other striker who can play an understudy to that one. Whereas you got Nketiah, like he did step up a little bit at the end of the season, but the question mark is, can he do it for the whole of the season? El Neni, he had games where he looked good, but is he going to be good enough now when you're going in these both competitions? You're going to have to rest, and you've got Partey who's injury prone. Like, so that means that El Neni will probably have to play a lot more football than is expected. So really, surely you want to improve on El Neni to have someone who, when Partey does get injured, can play well against alongside Xhaka. Like, this is where you want those young players in as the understudies to the better players, and not the experienced, not like Saka being the first choice and they can come and shine that way. But that's not a good sign of intent. I do expect you to go out and still sign. Like, I don't think you're just going to have Nketiah and that's your striker. I think you will go for a striker, but I don't think you should be like 100 grand a week for Nketiah. That's insane. What has he done?
He's come in and scored 5 goals, mate. That gets you enough for
like
100k.
What you was doing before, man. Carl Jenkinson on big money and all these players then like that aren't good enough, and you're just overpaying them and you can't get rid of them. Like that's not.
Well, what's Saka going to be on then when he signs his new if he signs his new contract? Is he going to go on 200k then now? I mean, like, it's crazy, absolute crazy. Go on, Tobes.
Is it my turn to speak?
Tobes, yeah.
You know what? I'm not even mad at Arsenal keeping Nketiah. I'll have to say, like, ever since listening to his Beautiful Game podcast and actually watching him closely in the games he started, I don't think Nketiah is as bad as people make him out to be. I won't even lie to you. I think his link up play and sort of centre forward play is a tad underrated, because I feel like he's labeled as this fox in the box type striker, but I think he's shown that he's got more in his locker. He can offer more. And then of course you gave him the opportunity. Where prior to that he wasn't really starting games at all, and he scored. So I don't have any issue with Arsenal keeping Nketiah, provided that one, you are signing a much better striker to be the first choice, and Nketiah is a backup, and you're signing 2 attackers, whether it's one striker, 1 forward, or 2 strikers, whatever. We all know that Arsenal's attack needs beefing up. So I don't see the issue in re-signing Nketiah, provided 2 attackers come through that door this summer. What I have an issue with is paying Nketiah that much money. It makes no sense, and it sets a very, very dangerous precedent in terms of the wages you're going to offer to some of your better players. We know that Arsenal are unafraid to spend big money on their prized assets, but Nketiah on 100 grand a week is mental to me. And for someone who has had an uncertain future with this manager, who's to say that it's all going to be hunky-dory from here? Who's to say that next season, when Arteta gets more of his players and Nketiah doesn't find himself in a similar position, and then this time you're trying to move on, but the clubs that are interested in you don't want to pay the 100 grand a week? Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have any issues paying the 15, 20, 25 million pound transfer fee for Nketiah, but who really wants to pay 100 grand a week for Nketiah? That's the part I don't really understand. I get paying on potential, because it's like, okay, who's to say that Nketiah can't go and get like 15 goals and all comps for Arsenal next season on top of your first choice striker and whatnot? But the wage is crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. It's crazy.
Are you worried? Just quick question to you guys, that Eddie Nketiah's big problem was that he wasn't playing more football. He wanted to be a regular starter in the side and all of that. Those are his concerns. That's why I wanted to leave. And now he's just signed a new 5-year deal. So has Arteta given him some assurances to say, I do believe in you for next season. You are my guy.
I think you might be right, mate. From what I'm seeing at the moment, Lacazette's looked like he's on his way out. Eddie Nketiah, I thought, was leaving with him, but it looks like now he's staying. When I get to a stage of seeing him playing the way he has been playing and scoring the goals that he's been scoring, what has he scored? 5 now in the last part of the season? I think Arteta will look at that and say, look, I'm right. This kid needs to stay. I'm putting him on 100k a week, which means he's going to have a massive part to play next season. And I think if that's the case, Arsenal are in serious trouble. Having said that, I do think Arsenal will sign another striker. Don't get me wrong. We need to. We've only got him at the moment. He's literally the only one we've got. We've lost everybody else. So I think we'll get another couple of players in. Lee, what's your opinion on Eddie and El Neni signing? Are they going to be squad players for you?
No, El Neni. Listen, every club needs an El Neni. You know what I mean? Like someone that can come in, just do a job and be happy about doing that. Like you've got to have a special mentality for that, and he's got that. So I've got no problem with that. I agree with what Tobi's saying there. Like Eddie is not as bad as what people are making out. His actual hold-up play is quite good. He's quite quick. The fact of the matter is that the reason they're having to spend this money on him is because they're letting him go out of contract. At the end of the day, if he goes out of contract, there's no transfer fee. So what Arsenal will actually do is not being paid £100,000 a week. What they're actually doing is they've whacked in a signing-on fee that makes it that. So the thing is, what Arsenal, which is poor again from them, is that Arsenal would have got £10 million for Eddie Nketiah if he'd have gone to Crystal Palace or anywhere else, because he's not a free transfer. He'd have gone on to that compensation thing, But ultimately, Arsenal, if they have to say, if he had gone, they're letting Lacazette go. They've got to spend 20-30 million on a backup, and then another 50, 60, 70 million on the main striker. Now they've got Eddie. They ain't got to do that. You know what I mean? So they're looking at. I know they're spending a lot of money, but they're saving money. It's ridiculous, but that's what they've done. And these things should have been sorted out ages and ages ago. And when I look at Spurs fans have a go at Levy, that's one thing that Levy does good. He don't let none of these players go into a contract so where the player has the power. And the fact of the matter is that Eddie has got all the power, hasn't he? Because at the end of the day, Arsenal know that if they let him go in a week, so they're going to get, or whenever it is in a month's time, they're going to get 10 million for him. You ain't getting a backup striker, a good backup striker, for 10 million. You know what I mean? It ain't going to happen,
Do you know what the downside? Do you know what the downside of that though is, Lee? The downside with that is what could potentially happen with Nketiah now, where you've given this guy a big contract on a big contract, long-term deal, and if it goes south,
100%,
you're going to be in a position. You're going to be in a position that Spurs are in, where we struggle to offload some of these players because they've been shown.
That's where we've gone wrong.
Loyalty.
Yeah, totally agree, and that's where we've gone wrong, Tobes, because again, we've put ourselves in that position. Next season, for instance, if he's only played 10 games and he wants to leave, just say, for instance, he wants to leave, just say it's all gone wrong. You ain't getting him for nothing. You've got to pay a fee of 20 million. As you say, people ain't not going to want to do that. So it's a real dilemma. I think that Eddie will do okay in the Europa League and come in and listen. He's been a better backup for us than Lacazette this season. He's done better than Lacazette. Lacazette's been poor, so we need to. Again, this is a thing that I've got a problem with. Like, we're still making the same mistakes in the transfer window that we was 5 years ago. You know what I mean? It's and. Yeah, I don't mind playing over the odds for certain players and things like that. That every team has to do that. But letting players go out of contract, we've been letting this happen for 10, 15 years, and it's still happening, and we're still doing it. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And now we've put ourselves in a position where, realistically, we've had to pay a little bit over the odds in wages, and as Tobi's saying, and now it's a gamble. It's a gamble that potentially he's a decent player already. I'm not saying that he's not, but
is he that backup striker? With a backup striker, I don't just look at him as, if your main striker gets injured. It's that striker where you're struggling to score a goal for some reason. Your main striker, they're just not firing, and you're throwing everything. They're defending well, and then as an opposition fan, you see the board go up, you see that other striker come on, you think, oh fuck, they're bringing him on now. He's fresh, and you start to worry. Arsenal have had that, a few players like that over the years. A lot of the good sides have had that player where obviously they're not the starter, but they're coming on, and you think, oh no, he's coming on now as well. Here we go, and you're going to be in trouble. I don't see him as that player that you throw on and he's going to help you win the game.
We've exactly, and that's the trouble. For instance, we had players going back in the day. We had Henry backing up. That was Wiltord. Now Wiltord was much underrated, but he was a French international that played in won World Cups and European Championships, and he was a backup.
Even
Giroud, so it is a major problem for us. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But the other side of it is other teams have. Like when you've got Bowen that can go in there and do a job, not necessarily for the long term, but on the short term, So I think that it's a gamble. I'm not going to get too stressed out about it until I see exactly what Arsenal bring in. I've said it all along now. There's no excuses for Arsenal this summer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I expect big business, because if the business isn't big, then you know what I mean. Like, we ain't challenging for nothing. Top 4 or nothing.
I agree.
Like, you know what I mean?
I agree. Before we wrap up, guys, I want to get everyone's opinions on both Arsenal and Spurs this summer, because we've concentrated a little
Before
bit
we
on
get
what
into
West
that,
Ham need.
aren't you going to congratulate
Tom.
us for getting top 4? You're not going to congratulate us? No?
Listen,
No.
you know,
you ain't going to congratulate us for dispatching the worst team in the league, despite some groups of people actually pretending as if Norwich stood a chance against us. You're not going to congratulate us?
Top 4 for me, like, I'm used to better than bit. When I'm used to winning things. So
I don't celebrate people getting into top 4.
Never celebrate top 4.
What did you win this season?
We ain't won nothing this season, but I'll tell you what, I never celebrated top 4. If you want to celebrate top 4, congratulations.
No, I'm not celebrating.
I'll say congratulations. I'll be a bigger man and say well done. I'll say well done if you want.
I'll tell you what,
I'm
going to say this now. I agree with it.
I don't
Spurs deserved it. Should I tell you why Spurs deserved it? Not losing to Manchester City and Liverpool.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll say well done if they really want a celebration from me. That's all fine. I can say well done. They deserved it. They were the better team when it mattered at crunch time.
Yeah, they did. Liverpool and Manchester City, you deserve it. And I give them that. To go to Manchester City and go to Liverpool, which by the way, Arsenal lost 4 and 5-0, and come away with results. You have to say fair play.
I think we were the ones that weren't Spursy for once, man. That's what happened to us anyway.
Call it a different name. Call it RC or something. Arsenal.
RC. Yeah.
RC,
We went RC. like that. Let's look at our futures, man. Let's be serious about where we're at with the managers and the transfer window in the summer before we wrap up, because I personally feel like we're going to have a similar season with results, and that doesn't mean we're going to be in the top 4 race if that happens, in my opinion, because I think everybody will get better. I think Liverpool and City are miles ahead. I think Chelsea, I know they've got a new owner, but I still think they're going to recruit, and they've got an elite manager. I think Tottenham will recruit. They've got an elite manager. I think that's your top 4 sewn up, in my opinion, next season. Depending on what happens in the summer, but that's what I would go with looking at things there. I think Arsenal, United, we don't know what's going to be happening with their sort of summers in terms of recruitment there. So I want to get people's opinions. Tobes, we'll start with you, man. If Conte's backed, Tottenham, you must be confident about your season coming ahead. If Arsenal are backed, which we think we're going to be in the summer again with another 150 million that we had last summer, where do you see Arsenal and Spurs' futures for next season, mate?
I think, well, for starters, I think Conte is going to get back. I think you lot have seen the news, like unprecedented times with ENIC. ENIC have acquired more shares, aka they've pumped more money into our club. It's the first time this has happened in like 10 years. In a 10-year period, they only put in 15 million, but now we saw a confirmed statement yesterday how they're putting 150 million as a capital investment into Tottenham, and they alluded to investments both on and off the pitch. Even if we don't get that 450 million, we will get the majority to spend on that on players, and that is a huge game changer for Spurs. A huge game changer for Spurs, because it's the first time in a long time where there's money available to spend without the thought of selling player A to buy player B, selling player C to buy player D, and that is a huge mentality shift for us. And it's for us, or for me personally, it sort of feels like the stars are aligning, and it's a sort of now and never thing for them to do this. So you've got the world class manager, you got the world class striking duo in terms of their production. Like, you've also not won a trophy for 20. It will be 22 years this season. It's time to put this to bed. And I think if Antonio Conte gets his money, gets his players, and we continue in the way we finished this recent season that's just closed, I think we're going to build on what we've done this season and try and target third spot and target a trophy. And I genuinely believe if everything that I'm hearing does come to fruition, I think Antonio Conte will help us end our trophy drought next season.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I think third place in a trophy would be amazing. I also think a trophy for Arsenal and trying to get the best of the rest in third place, and I mean that trophy to be in the Europa League, by the way. I think that would be a realistic, successful season for Arsenal and Spurs. Lawless, what about you? I'll come to Lee last. Lawless, what about you? With looking at Arsenal and Spurs now, me and you have spoken offline, and we both said that we thought secretly Tottenham would probably get top four. Now they got Conte, and it did happen. So where do you see the futures of Arsenal under Arteta and Conte under Spurs, bro?
Well, yeah, I think obviously Tobes touched on it a lot, didn't he? Like the all the money they're going to pump in now, world class manager. Kane, I think, is probably gonna not be trying to leave, because if he sees that, again, it's like I said with
Apparently he's going to sign a new contract. Apparently.
Well, there you go. He's committing the rest of his career, so that is a big. I mean, that's a gamble for him, but he must be confident then, and he can see the money, the pumping in the money that they're going to do, the ambition. Some will probably be happy to stay. There were murmurs, I know, for like past 2 seasons, like if he'd move, but they're going to stay. So they'll keep these players that are the X factor for them, and they've obviously going to wrap up Kulusevski, Bentancur, because I think they're loans, right? Or one of them's a loan. So anyway, these players will be there. Then they'll add to those and strengthen. It's going to be long, but if they do fail, the fall will be even bigger. So fingers crossed on that. Arsenal, it's going to be tough. Like Arsenal are going to have to get this transfer business spot on next season. Can't be looking at youngsters. I've said to you before, I think that Lokonga and Tavares signings were absolute waste of time. Okay, they may come good in the future, but waste of time for this season. If he keeps going like that, with looking at players that maybe could be good for the future, next season is going to be a long one for Arsenal, because now this is what you did with just the Premier League to focus on. Out of FA Cup early, 1 game a week, and you still missed out on top 4. Now you're going to go again. You're going to have Europa League, which, you're playing them Thursday, Sundays. I don't think you're going to have the luxury like you maybe used to in the early times when you got to that top 4 of maybe resting some key players. I think you're going to have to go strong from early on, really. So, yeah, I think Arsenal, like you said, Dan, go all out for that Europa League. Is going to be the way to go, because top 4 ain't happening. And if you can win that, that's obviously a route in there. It's going to be tough seeing what teams are going to be in it, because I think there are some good teams in that Europa League next season. And then it's going to be about what clubs drop down. But as we've shown, obviously, you never know. We beat Sevilla, which was huge. Like one of the dominant clubs in that league, one of the favourites. But obviously, we missed out on Barcelona, but Frankfurt beat them. So anything's possible. But Arsenal have gone out to some lesser sides in the past. So it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I think top 4, you ain't going to get a sniff of that, to be honest. So, boy, you better get that transfer window spot on. I don't know what Kroenke's doing, because I'm hearing he's building a new stadium in America or something like that. He's pumping money into one of these sports franchises. So, yeah, we shall see. But questions out on Arteta and how good his transfers are going to be.
Lee?
Yeah, I agree with that. Depends on the transfer window as far as Arsenal is concerned. You can't really say it. At the moment, if Arsenal don't go in big, and I mean big, then we're going to get left behind. So for me, at this moment in time, I think we've got to just concentrate on getting the Europa League, win that, it gets a trophy, and then gets us into the Champions League. For Tottenham, I honestly think they'll be. I think thank God for Man City and Liverpool, because I think they will be challenging for it next. So they jump above Chelsea, because Chelsea won't have the input that they've had over the last few seasons. I don't care what anybody says. There's no way Chelsea can be run like it has been by this
Apparently,
new.
it's 200 mil.
I
I
wouldn't-
read.
Yeah, but
I
200
wouldn't-
mil,
I wouldn't-
they're running on £900 million a week loss. You know what I mean? Like, they can't, and he was just picking up the bill.
I wouldn't rule out
No
Chelsea
new
just
owner's
yet.
going to do that.
I can't lie.
No
I think they still have, as it stands, they still have a better squad than us.
Oh yeah, they've got a good squad at the moment, but I do think
they've still got a top manager. But I just think Conte with his players,
they
I think
cannot
hopefully
keep that.
he can challenge a
They can't
third.
keep those wages going, Tobi. They can't keep paying out all of that. The thing was, say like it was, I just using they're 100 million. Oh, we're £100,000 down this week. He was going, all right, I'll see that through. I'll see that. These new owners are not going to do that, so eventually it's going to catch up on them. I don't know if it'll be next year. You might be right, but I do think Spurs will jump over Chelsea. I think that, especially if they're going to get the 400 million, because I think they're going to name their stadium or something, and they like, you know what I mean? So like it's going to be called Tampon. I've heard. Like, I don't know if it's actually going to be called Tampon. I don't know. Like, you know, but if they get that, I honestly think that Spurs with the manager and you know Skippy in midfield, I think they're going to go into the top three, right? You know.
Skippy.
On a serious note, I think
biting.
Tottenham. I think he's got, on a serious note, being serious, I think Tottenham, you know, will challenge in the top three. I think that they will be, and I think Arsenal, unless there's massive investment, because I tell you what I do see with Arsenal. I don't think Arteta, as I've said, I think he's a good prospect of a manager, but he's not up in the league of that there. So he what do you need after that? You need better players. So if you've not got better players than Conte or Pep or whoever, you're not going to do it. You know what I mean? So he's got to improve the squad, and he's got to improve the players. So for me, I'm just going to sit back, see what happens in the transfer window, and if Arsenal just do an ordinary transfer, Arsenal have got to blow this transfer window wide open. I don't think they'll do that.
No, I agree with that. I agree with most of what people said. I think Tottenham will be a threat next season for top four and trophies. I think Arsenal have got to have a season where we buy a ridiculous amount of players that is going to take us to a new level, and I don't think that we're going to be able to do that. As for Manchester United, I think under Ten Hag they're going to play a style of football which is attractive, but it's all on their recruitment. As for Manchester City, I mean, may as well just give them the title now. Their two strikers are now unbelievable that they've bought in, and I think it's Alvarez, and I think Alvarez got 6 goals against River Plate the other day.
He comes in
2 hat-tricks.
as well.
Yeah, he comes in the summer, and Haaland, I mean, let's be honest, he's going straight in my fantasy football team because he's going to be killing it in this league, in my opinion. So Man City have already done it. Liverpool will be close. Depends what happens with Chelsea. I think they have got to get their recruitment right also. I think Conte will definitely get backed, and I think Tottenham will 100% be right up there. So that, for me, is going to be very difficult for everyone else to get back into the top 4. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Guys, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank you both, and also the other guys that couldn't make it tonight, for coming on and joining this channel and being part of this content. It has been enjoyable. It's been good banter, and to be fair, it's been a bit of a poor ending for us, but Tottenham are also very happy. Lawless didn't quite work out for you, mate. West Ham, remember when we first did this show, we were very confident that West Ham were going to do very well, and there was someone in the bottom left that wasn't so confident and is smiling away that West Ham didn't manage it. Tobes, I've got to ask you though before you go, if you do get backed in the summer, you're going to agree with Lee that Levy's not that bad?
No, I'm not. But it's a way forward. It's a way forward. It's a path.
He's holding them back. He's holding them back.
He's holding his back, yeah. Just before we do wrap up, one name, player of the season was Kevin De Bruyne. Who would you go for, Lee?
Yeah, I will go with De Bruyne. We were talking about this earlier on, that weren't we, earlier on with the old BetVictor, like that song didn't even get nominated, which is
That's poor.
It was poor, really, like, you know what I mean. But I don't really go into a lot of these things, really. I don't really take too much notice. I just think out of Mo Salah and De Bruyne, I just think when it mattered, De Bruyne just showed his class. So that's why I went with him. I'll go with him.
Fair play, man. I'm going to go with Salah because I don't think there was anybody on the planet as good as him at one point this season. I'm not sure that De Bruyne was the best in the world at one stage, and I think Salah was. So I would go with Mo Salah. Tobes, who are you going for?
It's annoying because we've not had a season where one player has maintained their form throughout.
Yeah, that's true.
Mo Salah was the runaway favourite until African Nations, and then since he's come back, he's been really poor by his standards, to be honest. And Kevin De Bruyne, he's been amazing for the past like three and a half months. Like he's just carried Man City. I'll probably give it Mo Salah. He finished top goal scorer, joint top goal scorer, joint top assister as well. So yeah, I'll probably give it Mo Salah, man.
Yeah, that's why I'm going for it. We all know Lawless has given it to Jared Bowen. So no, you're going for Lawless.
Was he not? He wasn't nominated, was he? Should have been nominated. I know Rice was, but he should have been nominated. Rice should have won the whole thing. But
He'll be playing for Newcastle anyway, so it's fine.
Oh, shut up. You don't fully believe this rumor that was started by a troll West Ham account. You know that everyone's sending me this Jared Bowen to Newcastle thing. I'm like, oh my God. So no, that's not happening. But no, I had to say De Bruyne because he was a pivotal part of getting his team over the line to win the Premier League. When you look at the Ballon d'Or, what you've achieved that season does get taken into account what you've won. De Bruyne helped his team win that Premier League, so De Bruyne gets it. But should have been Rice or Bowen. But we'll go with De Bruyne.
No, Rodri
just one thing. Just one thing before we go on this. Top goal scorer, right? I don't agree with sharing it. I think it's like ridiculous, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So do you think, like we were talking about this the other day, do you think like it should go down there and say like on penalty? Because Song hasn't taken a penalty. I know it's still a goal, but they've got to try and break that up, haven't they? Like whether it's games.
I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can though.
Well, like we're saying, like it could be like say like for instance that you've played 30 games and someone played 25.
Yeah.
Do you think that's
scored in less games?
I don't think it can't. Yeah, it cannot be a tie. In my opinion, I think like say if like Song's played 30 games, if less games wins it or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Lawless says you don't win it, and if it's the league, it gets it gets done.
I think penalties should definitely count, though. Penalties should definitely count. But,
yeah, it's a difficult way.
In less games is a good way of doing it, I think.
Yeah,
because I remember when was it
Aubameyang,
Mane, and Salah all won it like a couple of years ago, didn't they? All three of them.
It just doesn't feel right sharing it. Do we agree?
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. You should be. They need to find a way. Like I said, with the league, you have goal difference and all these things to determine if they finish on the same points. What does it come down to? They got to do.
Yeah, it's got to be some way of doing it, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Someone said
guys,
go on, Lawless. So sorry, someone just said add assists. Put
yeah, that's a good point. Assists as well, I suppose. That's a good shout. But I'm with you, judges. Yeah, that's true. It's golden boot. But and likewise, that's why I went for Salah. He scored the most, assisted the most. But yeah, no, that's a good talking point, man. That's a good talking point. Good little debate. I think that's for another show, perhaps. But guys, I want to say thanks to everybody in the chat, watching live, everyone for having this show. It's been great, to be honest, to get Tobes and Lawless on. We'll be seeing a lot more of these guys in the new season. Wish you all of you a great summer.
It's hilarious because I asked Dan this.
What's that chat? I can't even read it. What does it say?
Chat. I said all these jokes about Spurs trophy, etc., but this doesn't make you feel better about missing out on top four. It doesn't make you feel better.
Listen, Toby, it's been a bitter pill to swallow. It's been a bitter pill to swallow. Don't worry about that. But I'll tell you what, it's even worse if you don't get top four and the team and the local rivals have won a title. That's even worse. That's true. That's even worse.
Listen,
you swallowed a few of them pills.
Tobes, you've swallowed a few, mate. And do you know what? What's this one? Wait, Arsenal's on top.
All right, Dave, go back eating your dinner.
Go back to the other one, Dave. I must admit, that's a good one as well. Cool, we'll be here all day just putting memes up, man. Let's wrap this up. Yeah, Tobes, thank you, mate. Tap in Tobes.
Cheers,
Come
Tobes.
over and follow Tobes on his platform. You're getting up to a few thousand now on your subs, bro. So well done. Going into the new season, all the Spurs fans and Arsenal fans, if you do want, any football fan, in fact, go and subscribe to Tobes' channel. Tap in Tobes. As Lawless as well, mate. Thank you, bro. West Ham TV. You'll be back. You'll enjoy your summer when you've signed Lingard. You'll be even happier to coming on here, I'm sure, celebrating that signing. And hopefully you enjoy your summer, bro. Thanks for your support this season, mate, as well.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's been good.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure. Judges, this has been a good laugh doing this top
Great
four
debate,
thing, mate.
like
But,
that,
you know,
yeah.
having these guys on is always fun and it's good banter. And there is
Yeah, it
it's
ain't
love
fun,
all
mate.
round.
It's
So.
never fun. Let's be honest. Like, I quite like the guy, but he's no fun. He's no fun. I tell you that.
Wicked. Guys, we will see you all next time. Listen, enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll be back tomorrow night. Me, Lee, and Troops will be having a chat about our end of season. So please be sure to join us tomorrow evening. Until then, see you next time, and up the Arsenal.